Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are busy this week, last week and this week, we are busy with the so-called roadshows. We started in Emmen in the northern parts of the Netherlands and then back to Venlo, and then last Monday we started in Hoek of Holland, back to Delft, Waalwijk, and today we are presently here. This is not a DSM site, but this is where we are today. What I will do with you, I will highlight the one CLA agreements. Not all of it, but just some highlights. More specifically, we will go into the transition arrangements. How does that work? Moving from the current CLA to the new one. Some practical information that has to do with the transfer to the new CLA per April the 1st, and of course plenty of room for questions. You could do me a big favor. Please wait with your questions till after my presentation. Otherwise I will be confused, and hopefully I answer your questions during my presentation. If not, will be plenty of time afterwards. Just to recap, Patrick already mentioned something about our negotiation process. We started this process in early 2012. That was important because we started with a so-called letter of intent. And one of the things we discussed in the letter of intent was what will happen if the value of the new CLA, the value of the new package, will be of a lower value than the current one. And then we say we will compensate employees. Not just for a year, not just for 5 years or 10 years, which by the way is the benchmark. No, we will compensate employees as long as they are employed with DSM till their pension age. This is a unique agreement. And with this agreement we started. Then we started the design phase and we started the negotiation phase. Why did it took 30 months? Because it was 7 CLAs, it was complicated, and sometimes we simply disagreed with each other. Nevertheless, we reached an agreement on the 3rd of December. We had an official signing of the new CLA, and now we are in the implementation phase. And as of April the 1st, it's not a joke, we will start transferring people to the new CLA. The key themes of the new CLA, it's remuneration, fixed and variable pay, it's working hours and leave benefits, a new element, it's called My Choice. You have to make choices in your own package. And like I said, the transition agreement, how does that work, moving from the current CLA to the new one. I hope you still recognize this. This is the newsletter we sent to all of your home addresses in October. That was the period that the unions consulted their members, and DSM and the union said we will make a combined letter describing our principal agreement of the one CLA. If due to my presentation you would like to say what does he meant with performance allowance or how does it work, please read this article. Again, if you don't have it, it's still available online on internet or Connect. And of course, in due time, we will distribute by internet the official text of the new CLA as well. Good. Starting with remuneration. For you, that's common practice. In the new salary, we use so-called C scales. Don't ask me what the C stands for because I simply don't know, but this is the DSM structure. We will transfer employees to the C scale. For you, it's common practice, but I hope you understand for colleagues working in Resins or Delft, it's new, and we will convert those employees from the current salary scales to the new C scales. One of the things we liked having in the new CLA as an employer was that your individual performance counts in your remuneration. That means if you have not reached your maximum of your salary scale, your salary steps are based on your performance, on your individual performance. And I hope you understand, the higher your performance is, the higher the step is, with a maximum of 6%. Until you reach the maximum of the salary scale. In the new CLA, 100% of your salary scale is actually the maximum of your salary scale. If you have reached the maximum, then you will get 1, 2 or 3% performance allowance. If your individual performance is ranked good, very good or excellent. That could be different each year. Each year we will look at your individual performance. If ranked in those 3 categories, you will get 1, 2 or 3% extra. We made new agreements on the bonus scheme, the variable pay. 3%, 5% or 12%, depending on your C scale. From the top of my head, C32 up until 36 is 3%, 37 up until 41 is 5%, 42 up until 44 is 12%. And the pension premium. The pension scheme as such remained unchanged because that was already harmonized over the 7 CLAs. That was quite a relief, to be honest. The only thing was, out of the 22% total premium, there was a difference. What is the company's paying and what is the employee paying? And now we harmonized that, and the employees will pay 5.5%. Yeah, much more to tell about remuneration, but these were the highlights. One other topic is labor time and leave, working hours and leave. In the new CLA, you will be eligible for 25 days off. If you are above 45 years of age, you will get 3 days extra, 3 sustainable days. What you see in the current CLAs is that by the time people will get older, they get an extra day off. It's called elderly days or senior days or whatever it's called. That will disappear in the new CLA. Therefore, instead, from the age of 45, you will get 3 days extra. 25 days plus 3 if you are above 45 is 28. That is different than you have today in the Limburg contract. I already will mention here my choice. My choice will give you the option to buy additional days off. I will come back to that in a moment. And for those of you interested, the TOR scheme will remain unchanged. Benefits. A lot to mention about benefits. Just to highlight commuting allowance. We harmonized commuting allowance at 30 cents. And we looked at anniversary. We officially will celebrate if you have 25 years of service, 40 years of service, and you see, we think in future you might have to work longer with the company. We also will celebrate 50 years of service. And of course you can celebrate every day you work with the company, but these are the official moments. There is a leave scheme. You can save days in a leave scheme. You can save up until a maximum of 175 days. Let me explain this a little more in detail, because maybe currently you already have a so-called rekening courant. You already have a leave scheme. If so, what you have saved there, you will be entitled to use that whenever you want, also after the 1st of April this year. You can use that in time, and then a day stays a day. You can also have those days paid out in the current scheme. What we will do is we will set the value of those days based on the current CLA on the 31st of March. And then in the future you can use those days in cash. To make sure you will not lose out money, we will index that value with potential CLA increases, with merit increases and promotion increases. And then really we have thought of everything. Please bear in mind, if you already have days saved in your current rekening courant and you would like to save more days in the new scheme, the total may not exceed 250 days. That's for tax reasons. And we made new arrangements on special leave, all kinds of happiness and sadness you occur during your career. We will give some special leave. Like I said, a new element in the new CLA. We want to have this CLA being more flexible. You have to make choices in the new CLA, within boundaries of course, but nevertheless. How does that work? You will get on an annual basis a budget. The basis budget in my choice is, for those of you working in a 5-shift operation, 5.51%. All other employees will get 6.11%. before I will tell you what you can do with this budget, I will tell you that you can increase the budget, and especially for those of you working in Limburg, that's important. You can add 5 days out of the 25, the value of 5 days, into this budget. You can add your 3 days if you are above the age of 45. You can add your variable pay, your performance bonus if you're at the end of your at the maximum of your scale, overtime, and most important, you can add your transition allowance to my choice. And by doing so, you increase your budget and gives you more option to spend that budget. Okay, sounds good. What can I do with it? You can cash it whenever you want. Each month you can decide, oh, this is convenient for me, I would like to have it cashed, or part of it cashed. I can buy additional leave. Let me tell you, from a basis budget of 6.11% my choice, you can buy approximately 14 days off. From a 5.51% my choice budget, for those of you working in a 5-shift operation, you can buy approximately 8 days. If you have a need to buy even more additional leave, and you have to add your transition allowance into my choice, and by doing so you can even buy more time. Yeah? You can save some money for later, so put it in your pension. We have some tax options here, what you currently already have, but we have to put it somewhere here in the my choice option. And as of April, there will be a saving shop, a web shop. You don't have to use it. In some roadshow, people ask me, do I really have to spend my money on the web shop? No, no, no. It's an option. It's a saving shop where you can buy products. This is where we will start with in April this year. Currently, there are still discussions about adding some more options to my choice, like insurances, private lease cars, and solar panels. One thing, the last sentence, have your annual salary paid in 12, 13 or 14 equal parts. In some CLAs, people were used to have their annual salary being paid in 14 parts, others 13, there it was 12. What we said is we will give the most flexible arrangement to those employees. Each year you can decide, I want my annual salary being paid in 12, 13 or 14 parts. If you don't choose, we will do it for you. The default is 14. Good. Much more to tell about the one CLA, but then we are here too long, I guess. What I would like to do now with you is dig into the transition arrangement. How does that work? And this is really a unique arrangement. We try to have everything into the calculation. By doing so, we even made it a bit complicated. Complicated to explain to you, but I will do my best. Before I tell you how this works, we'll look at a small movie.
On December 3rd, 2013, DSM and the trade unions reached a final agreement on migrating to a single collective labor agreement towards one CLA. That is a great result. As of April 1st this year, we will have a single new CLA that applies to all DSM employees in the Netherlands. The creation of a single CLA will support us in realizing our vision and strategy. DSM transformed from coal to knowledge. We have meanwhile turned into a life sciences and material sciences company. In order to realize our strategy, we will have to realize a top performance. We can do that only as a single organization. As one DSM. One DSM should have one CLA. This will ensure more clarity and uniformity regarding employment conditions. Also, having a single CLA makes things easier. We have another 4 key reasons to implement a single CLA. The implementation of our strategy requires a modern, flexible, transparent, and unambiguous relationship between the employer and the employees. It enables improved human resources management in the Netherlands. This increases the quality while decreasing cost. To realize this, a project was started alongside the One CLA project. creating a strong and efficient HR organization. A single CLA will enable us to maintain our strong employer and competitive positions within the Netherlands. It will facilitate transferring from one social unit to another. This implies better mobility of employees. Migrating to one CLA will give our organization an attractive employment benefit package, also in the future. This is a result of a huge effort that we made together with the trade unions. The value of the new employment benefit package may differ compared with the current employment benefit package. If the value of the new CLA is higher for you, that obviously means good news. You will be better off immediately or at some point in the near future. If the new package has a lower value than your current package, we will make you a promise. We guarantee all our current employees that no one will lose out in value. We will use this video to show you how we will fulfill that promise. First, allow us to show you how we calculated the value of the employment benefit package. Let's take the current CLA. We reviewed all payments you are entitled to, such as salary, timesheet allowances, and pension premiums. This results in the so-called package value in euros. Comparing this total amount with your actual annual contractual hours, that is, your contractual working hours minus the hours of leave you are entitled to, will give you the hourly package value. We performed the same calculation for the new CLA. This also results in an hourly package value. This value may differ from the current CLA's value. As indicated before, the new CLA is the same for all staff in the Netherlands. Also, DSM and the trade unions made new agreements on various employment conditions. Your new employment benefit package will therefore not be the same as your current package. This new package will consist of the same components for everyone. The four key components are remuneration and allowances. These are your primary employment conditions. That means your fixed salary, your result remuneration, and the fixed timesheet allowances, working hours, and leave. This concerns the number of hours you work every week and the number of holidays you are entitled to. Benefits are all the extras you receive. This may include all sorts of staff schemes, such as the commuting allowance, an anniversary payment, and special leave. New is My Choice. This system allows you to personally compile some of your employment benefit package. How exactly does that work? Within the total employment conditions package, you can make your own choice in areas such as additional days of leave, pension savings, buying products in the discount shop, and benefiting from tax options. This gives you more individual possibilities to shape your employment conditions to your own requirements. Comparing the package value of your current and new CLA, there are three options. Your hourly package value either rises, stays the same, or decreases. In the first two cases, you are not eligible for a transition allowance, as your package either stays the same or even improves. If your hourly package value decreases, you are entitled to a transition allowance. This allowance is designed to ensure that you will not experience a decline in value of your employment benefit package. We guarantee that. We made a comprehensive overview of the old and new packages for all our current employees. We did that for each year from the effective date of the new CLA up to the age when you become eligible for AOW state pension. You will soon receive a comprehensive transition statement showing your exact current hourly package value and how it was calculated. You can also see your new hourly package value and how it was calculated. Finally, the overview shows you if you are entitled to a transition allowance and if yes, the amount of the allowance. Fixed is fixed. This means you will transfer to one CLA with your current fixed salary. Naturally, your employment benefit package consists of more elements, such as variable remuneration, pension, fixed allowances, commuting allowance, days of leave, and anniversary payments. all these elements are factored into the calculation. The calculation also factors in the future. We reviewed how your current employment benefit package would have developed. Then we reviewed how your new employment benefit package is going to develop. Subsequently, we determined the difference for each year. Your transition allowance will change only based on future CLA salary increases. This is referred to as indexation. The transition calculation is performed only once. If you joined or will join DSM before April 1st, 2014, you may be eligible for a transition allowance. The amount of this allowance is calculated only once at this time for the period from April 1st, 2014 until the date you are entitled to AOW state pension. The amount of your transition allowance is based on your current position. This is used as a basis for calculating the transition allowance in the next few years. If your position or performance level should change in the future, the transition allowance will stay the same. We will not retroactively use the old CLA rules to recalculate your transition allowance. Additionally, the transition overview shows you that the amount of your transition allowance may differ annually, as the differences between the current and new employment benefit package may vary. This depends on your personal situation. For example, an additional day of leave granted or a service anniversary will affect your transition allowance in a relevant year. You will receive the transition allowance on a monthly basis. You have the option of adding this allowance to your My Choice budget. This would allow you to buy extra days of leave, for example. We are convinced that DSM will be ready to take a powerful step into the future, thanks to migrating to one CLA. We will prove that we are an attractive employer, now and in the future.
What we will do with this small movie is we will broadcast that online as of next week. So if you would like to see it one more time again, or maybe 10 times, that is possible as of next week. Let me just recap some of the important elements of this arrangement. The transition allowance is determined once. We will do that by the transfer 31st of March till April the 1st. We will do that for not only for 2014, but for all the remaining years you have to work till your pension age at DSM, as long as you are employed with DSM. So the youngest employee within DSM is 20. I know it's a he. He will get an overview of 47 years. That's the way we organize this. The transition allowance is constantly based on the total package value in the old situation, in your current CLA, and the total package in the new CLA. We also look at the net amount of working hours in the current CLA and the net amount of working hours in the new CLA. I will come back to that in a moment. This is important. Employees will transfer with their fixed salary. We specifically have arranged this by avoiding pension damage. Your fixed salary is the basis for your pension build-up. If your fixed salary is changed to a lower value, then we have to repair that in a transition allowance, but we also have to repair your pension build-up. That is possible, but then you have to put that money into your pension. Suppose you forget it. What we have decided, say no, we will organize it differently. Employees will always transfer with their fixed current salary. That could mean that now you are at 100% of your scale, and in the new situation you go to 95% of the scale, and you have some new salary perspective. The payout of your transition allowance is always in 12 months. Your annual salary, you have an option to have it paid out in 12, 13 or 14 parts. Transition allowance is always paid out in 12 months. Good. In the movie you saw the letter you all will receive the coming 3 weeks. We will send out 5,500 employees an overview with their current package, the new package, the transition allowance, till their pension age. It's a massive operation. That is the letter you saw in the movie. What I would like to do now with you is to go to this exercise before I go to the example. This is the calculation we do for all the coming years, 2014 and all the other years till your pension age. We calculate the transition allowance, then it's set. The only thing when we will change the transition allowance is when there is a collective labor agreement salary increase in place. It will be indexed. And we will change the transition allowance if you decide to change your work pattern. If you would decide to work more or less, of course, accordingly we will change the transition allowance. In all other situations like promotions, demotions, transfers, we will not make a recalculation. We will make the transition calculation for the transition allowance today. If that means that you need to go to the toilet, it's allowed. If it means that you have a question, do me a favor, wait till I finalize my presentation, yeah? Thank you. By doing this for all the coming years, I have to use, I hope you understand that, I have to use some assumptions because I can't predict the future. So what I do here is, in the old situation for variable pay, I look at your individual results of the past 5 years. That percentage I will take into my calculation in the old situation for all the remaining years till your pension age. Oh, let me go back a little bit. In the variable pay in the new situation, you are eligible for 3, 5 or 12%. There I assume that all employees will have a 93% result of that percentage. That's another assumption. I have to use your performance rating because in the new CLA, for instance, your salary steps are determined by your performance, and I don't know 5,500 individual performance ratings. Therefore, we made an agreement that we will say we will use the average performance rating of the past 3 years. And this is especially for Limburg, the so-called EVT days. You have currently 25 of EVT days. 10 of those I will take automatically into my calculation. The other 15 are depending whether you were sick or not. What we have said is we will use the average of 12 days. We've looked back in our system for the past 7 years and we saw the average was 12 days. That I will take into consideration for my calculation. Of course, with one exception, that's the year 2014. If you were eligible for more than 12 days, for the first year I will take into account 13, 14 or 15 days. For all other years I will take into account the average of 12 days. Good, let's go to an example. I have an employee of Limburg working in day shift. What I will do here, this is the letter you will receive, and we will build up this letter and rehearse this transition allowance. What I will do here, I will look at this individual, all the components of this package, and I start with, it's in Dutch but I will translate it for you. I start with base salary. And this base salary, including your holiday allowance and your 13th month, is 50,050 euros. If some of you recognize his or her salary, it's up to you whether you would like to share it with us. 50,050 euros. Then I will look at all the other elements in this individual package. Of course, there is no shift allowance because this is a day shift operation. Then pension premium. I have to explain it. Pension premium is the total 22% pension premium minus the amount, the percentage the employee has to pay based on the current CLA. The remaining part is 9,259 euros. Variable pay, 3,798. That's based on the average of the past 5 years. A personal allowance. In this example, the box is empty, but there are a lot of employees who have a personal allowance. If so, we will take them into consideration in our calculation. And some of you do have more than 4 personal allowances. All of them will be taken into account. The commuting allowance, and I count all those numbers and here to a total of 65,181 euros. I hope you understand that is not your annual salary. This is the total package value based on 2014, based on the current CLA. Well, this was easy. This was the first part of the calculation. Then I'll look at how many hours do you have to work in 2014 based on the current CLA. In this example, it's 1,608 hours. How do I come to that number? We start with the gross amount working hours you have on an annual basis, 2,087. I deduct all kinds of leave you have in that specific year based on the current CLA. So I deduct your days off, I deduct your EVT days, I deduct your, what's it called, the bridge day, I deduct all the, how is it called, the feestdagen? Public holidays, because normally you are day off on a public holiday, but your salary continues. So I deduct all those hours. I deduct also your elderly days based on your age in 2014, based on the current CLA. And then I come to 1,608 hours divided on the total package value. So the package value per hour for this employee is 40 euros and 54 cents. Yeah? Now I do the same calculation again, but now based on the new CLA. And this is the first check, because we say fixed is fixed. So this number should always be the same, 50,050. That's your fixed salary. And now I build this up based on the new CLA. And what you see here is that my choice pops up. Because in the new CLA we say this employee is eligible for 6.11% my choice budget. So we put that on the list. You see the pension premium, it's still there, but the number is different, because in this situation now it's 22% minus 5.5%. I see variable pay, it's 3, 5 or 12%, and I assume you realize 93%, so I put that on the list. There's no personal allowance. If there was a personal allowance, he would have been disappeared here, because in the new CLA there is no personal allowance anymore. Commuting allowance is still there, but the number is different, and the total package value is 66,105 euros. I think it's more than it was in the old situation, but now I also look at the net amount of working hours according to the new CLA. I start again with the 2,087 gross number of working hours, and I deduct now 25 days of leave. I deduct 3 days because I know that this person is 45 years plus. I deduct the paid holidays, and then the working hours in the new situation is 1,815. And then the package value per hour in this case is 36 euros and 42 cents. That means if I wait a minute. If I build up the ladder, I compare the two figures, and what you see here is that there is a negative delta of 4 euros and 12 cents per hour. So if this employee is transferred to the new CLA, then he will lose money because the new package value is less. And we said we made an agreement. No one will be suffer from moving to the new CLA. We will give you a guarantee that you will be compensated. So that means that this employee will get a transition allowance of 7,478 euros. That's 4 euros and 12 cents times 1,850 net amount of working hours you have to work in 2014. I will make this calculation not only for 2014, but I will make this calculation for all remaining years this employee has to work till his pension age. So obviously he will be 67 years of age in 2027, and we said we will make this calculation once at the time of transfer to the new CLA, and we will put here in place all the transition allowances per month. And what you see is that the allowance changes, and that has to do with the fact that elements in the old situation and or in the new situation constantly changes per year. Because in the new CLA, this employee, somewhere here, he will get an extra elderly day by the time he is 60. And he gets an extra one when he's 61 and an extra one when he's 63. In the new situation, he only gets the 3 days as of 45. In the old situation, he most probably was at 100% of his scale. In the new situation, there's more salary perspective. So constantly we're checking for all the years the pluses and minuses, and we determine the transition allowances for all the years. This is what you will get in a personal letter the coming 3 weeks. To give you an idea how that looked like in an Excel sheet is like this. So this example, this is the Excel sheet with all the details for all the years, salary, working hours. Blue is the current situation, orange is the new situation, and this is the transition allowance. We will make sure that this banner is placed at all the locations. So if you would like to check it or to read it or discuss it with your colleagues, please do so. That's the reason we made it. We only can publish 10 years, and officially this person would be paid a transition allowance till 67, so I would have need half a banner extra, and for the young one I needed 4 banners. Here you see the complication by communicating this to you. What we will do is we will send this letter to your home address, and we will email this Excel sheet. You have to read this from a screen because I can't print it. We tried it, but you can't read it. So this we will send to your home address, and that will be sent to by email. Good. Let's do another example, but a little bit quicker because now we all understand how this works. Employees, I don't think, are there employees working in shift present? No. Nevertheless, we will go to the exercise. What I will do with a shift worker, I go to the same exercise. Same here, the salary 34,468, and salary working hours in shift is different, 1529. Hourly rate 4126. It's your total package divided by the amount of working hours in 2014. I make the same calculation, but now based on the new CLA. 38.31, you see there is a negative delta of €2.95. Time the amount of working hours this employee has, 1529, is €4,511 of transition allowance. What you see here, that is interesting. Here, this employee has a personal allowance of €905. That disappears here and is part of the calculation of your transition allowance. If this is not an indexed number, which it is, the 905 is a nominal amount, then in the calculation that will stay a nominal amount. What we will do is all the remaining part of the transition allowance will be indexed with the collective labor agreement. We will first make the calculation based on 31st of March in the old situation, 31st of March in the new situation, and then if it's an indexed allowance, we will index it with 1.5%. Yeah? And for this employee, you see it's a scattered pattern of transition allowance. He will get here, it drops and then it rises up again. And then by the time here in 2028, he is 67 years of age. I will not mention this all to you, but just to give you a glance of what we put into our calculation. This is common for all the 7 CLAs, and then we looked at specific elements of specific CLAs. We put everything into detail for 5.5 employees in our database, calculating the transition allowance. Before I go over to the Q&A session, some practical information. As I said, coming 3 weeks, you will get a personal letter and a detailed overview, an Excel sheet by email. We will start sending those letters as of next Monday, Tuesday. If you don't have it on Wednesday, do not give me a call. We have to do this for 5,500 employees. We will broadcast another Connect special with some extra information on the CLA, but more important, as of Monday, there is a help desk in place. Because if you have your personal letter and you have your detailed Excel sheet, and you think of my presentation and you think it was very clear, but nevertheless I have some questions, or maybe worse, you have some doubts whether it was okay what we have calculated for you, please contact the help desk. There are employees with knowledge of your current CLA and knowledge of the new CLA. They have access to your individual letters, to your individual spreadsheets. They can help you. You can contact them by phone, contact them by email. And I hope everyone understands, with a massive operation like this, with 5,500 people, if a lot of you will contact the help desk, please give us some time to answer your question, but we will answer all of your questions. Late March, there will be another CLA newsletter with some practical information that has to do with the transfer of April 1st. Because I have to calculate some of your remuneration elements based on 1 quarter for the old situation, the current CLA, and then 3 quarters based on the new CLA. There's a new payroll provider as of April 1st, so the look and feel of your payslip will be different. How does that work, buying a day off in my choice? We will explain to you that in a letter. One last remark before we answer the Q&A session is moving from 7 CLAs to 1 CLA does also means moving from 7 formal employers to 1 formal employers. So as of April the 1st, you are employed with DSM NL Services BV.